Hey guys, welcome back to Nature's Cadence Farm. Today we're going to be working on our 97 Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's got a 4-liter inline 6 in it, the 242, and the select track transmission, but that has nothing to do with what we're doing today. Either way, that's what it is. So what I have is a no start issue. It turns over, it cranks, but it doesn't try to start. Or at least hit anything, so there's nothing really going on. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on, so let's see if we can figure it out. First I'm going to show you what it's doing, just so you have an idea. So as you can see, it turns over, but it doesn't try to start at all. I even tried opening up the throttle a little bit while I was thinking maybe it was the throttle position sensor or something like that. I've seen that happen before on this, but that's not the case. To give you a little background, what it did is I was going down the highway maybe 60 miles an hour, and it just started, and I accelerated a little bit, and it just started bucking, like it had a miss in it actually. But it was still running, and all my gauges were okay still, so I said, well, let's just try to get it to the house and park it, and I'll deal with it later, jump in something else and drive it. So I'm glad I did, because once I parked it, I couldn't get it started back up. But so here we are. So the next thing for me to do, the check engine light did come on. So let's go in here. I'll show you how to get those codes out of the computer. Jeep and Dodge, for that matter, in this era, was really nice about giving you a way to access those codes. So let's go inside. Alright, so how you perform the diagnostic trouble code readout is the numbers will actually show up here on the odometer display. So what we do is we cycle the key 3 times. So on, off, and on, and leave it on, and let's see what happens here. Okay, might not have done it fast enough. Let's try that again. Alright, so you can see there's a 12. And then it'll come up with a 54 there. And then the check engine light also flashes the numbers. Alright, so that's 2, a 12 and a 54. Then we've got a 55. And once the check engine light comes back on solid, that means it's done. So let's figure out what those codes mean. So to get it out of that, all you have to do is just turn your key back off and take your key out, and you're ready to go. So let's get on the computer and see if we can figure out what those codes mean. We got on the computer and we researched those diagnostic trouble codes, and we ended up finding out that the 12, 54, and 55 are good codes. So the 12 is, I don't know, the beginning of the sequence. 55 means that the battery was disconnected within the last 100 starts or 50 starts or whatever it was. But 54 was the one I was really intrigued with. And what that said was the computer did not receive a signal from the crankshaft position sensor upon trying to start. So I would say that's probably why we're not getting a start, because the computer's not getting a signal from the crankshaft position sensor. So what I ended up with is getting this CSS 819, and that's what was recommended for my application. So what we're going to do is try to get this in, and I've got an idea how I'm going to do it, but if you come on over here, this is what it looks like. So it has this cardboard piece on it, which there's some instructions inside of here that explain to leave that cardboard on there, and then it gets sheared off while the engine is running. So this sets your distance away from the crankshaft, and it's a disposable kind of item. But anyways, and it has this little connector on here. So if you look down inside of here, we've got a wiring harness connector that looks exactly like what we have, and so that must be it. And it goes back around to the back of the bell housing, and so I'll have to crawl up underneath of there and get to that. So we'll first go ahead and unhook this if we can. It's just down in there. Okay, so that came apart really easy. That's nice. So that's that. So now let's crawl up underneath of there and see if we can get to the sensor itself. Alright, we are underneath of the vehicle now, and you can see where I kind of am. I am left of the bell housing, or driver's side of the bell housing, on the back of the engine underneath of it here. And I've got an 11mm socket on a impact swivel. It's just what I had floating around here. And then I've got an extension that goes all the way back to here. There's the cross member. So back here, I'm going to try to get a ratchet on there and pop this bolt loose. So let's see how that works. What I ended up with was that 24-inch extension, then I put a little 3-inch extension on there, and then I've got my 1/2-inch ratchet attached. And let's see if we can get this thing just started to turn. Oh yeah, there you go. Oh, it's not very tight. So I'll try to get it a lot of the way out. Then the rest of the work of actually pulling the sensor out will be done up above. So I might take and pop this ratchet off and see if I can just twist it by hand now. Oh yeah, there it goes. Alright, that feels like it's really loose. I'm going to try to reach up in here and grab it. I can't really get my arms in there, but there it comes up. Feels like the socket came off of the universal. Okay. Might have to grab that from above. Let's see if we can get to it from up there. Alright, so what I found was, here's the sensor. I pulled that out, and I found this cable tie was holding it on here, so you might need to clip that off. Right there, like that. So what I ended up doing for getting the sensor out was I reached up kind of where the connection for the drive shaft goes into the differential, and up and around. I couldn't really get my arms in on the top, so I ended up getting it from below and pulling it out and just wiggling it, and it came right out. So here's the old one. Now we're gonna get the new one in. I've got the new sensor here. I'm gonna go ahead and feed it in from this side, since this is the side I just pulled it out of. So we're gonna come in behind the motor, kind of fish it over there somewhere, and I'll go ahead and plug it in. I don't see any reason not to. It's gonna have to be plugged in at some point. Alright, so that's in there. So back underneath and try to get it fished in there. So after quite a bit of fighting and fussing, I finally got the sensor into the bell housing there, and what I ended up doing was reaching up from the bottom again to get it in there. I just could not reach anything from the top, and I ended up using the exact same tools as I did to take it out. The 24-inch extension, a universal up there by the bolt, and then a little 3-inch extension on that 24-inch. But either way, and that's an 11mm socket. Again, if I didn't say that before. Alright, so we got all the stuff put back together that we had taken apart, and here we go. We're going to try to start it up now. Let's see what happens. Okay, nothing yet. Alright, we got some other testing to do. Alright guys, well, we tried to get it started and it didn't start. So I did a little troubleshooting, and Scanner Danner actually has a really good video, and I'll put a link up somewhere up here somewhere. Anyways, it's kind of showing you what I went through kind of with my troubleshooting. He does a really good job explaining it, probably way better than I can. But I'll show you what I did over here. So I ended up finding these wires in here were chafed. Man, it was really hard to get in there. Anyways, these wires back here go to the crankshaft position sensor, and I ended up using those to test for the voltages that I need, and then I ended up coming over here to this, which goes to the distributor, which they call the camshaft position sensor, or the distributor pickup coil, or the Hall effect sensor, depending on who you're talking to. And I tested this, and I found this to actually be bad. I should have tested everything first instead of just looking at the computer and thinking that was going to be it, but lessons learned. Either way, it's got a new crank position sensor and a new pickup coil right there. So, like I said, Scanner Dan would be a lot better to explain what was going on. But here's the old one, and I'm not sure if this rust was an issue or whatever. But either way, it's got a new one on it now. So let's give it a shot and see if we can get it fired up. Well, as you can see, that was it. It's up and running now. So anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.